That was incredible.
That was just crazy.
Yeah.
I can't believe the things we've gotten to do over the last
Seriously.
week. Yep, on to the next adventure. And in tune with the rest of this trip, we hadn't the slightest idea what that next adventure might be. We just knew, knowing everything else that had been planned for us, that it was most likely going to be amazing. And as it turns out, yep, it was. Amazing is an understatement, and this town is Taxco, a spellbinding mountainside town, literally on the side of a mountain. A whitewashed old silver mining town with original Spanish colonial architecture, all bathed in the feel of old Greek-style isles. As picturesque as it is, navigating here was not amazing. It's an incredibly steep town, and negotiating the tiny streets with rough cobblestone was challenging to say the least, and none of us wanted to trade places with poor Diego. But aside from a close call or two, we avoided any scratches or major catastrophes, and finally got the party bus parked so we could hike around this gem of a city for the rest of the day. This town was gorgeous, nothing like anything we have yet to see in South America thus far. Definitely not your typical Mexican village, that's for sure. And the focal point of this place, as much as it may seem to be beautiful old Volkswagens, would have to be the Santa Prisca del Taxco church, a mirage of sorts as you pull into town, largely obscured by the rolling hills and protruding homes, but poking out a tower or two now and then like a flirty teenager. But we had spotted it, and once on foot, we made a beeline straight for it. Now, I wouldn't say that we are normally people who are especially taken by churches, but like they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. And in Mexico, they do churches. And finding admiration for a structure like this was not difficult.
So, this town was founded in 1529.
It was an amazingly beautiful church, and as Ali explains it, was built by the Spanish in 1751, several hundred years after the famed Spanish conquistadors, acting in the interest of silver and spreading the good word of the Bible, of course, vanquished the indigenous several hundred years earlier in the early 16th century. Mining went hard and heavy right up to about 100 years ago, when a decline in reserves combined with rising labor costs all but shut down the industry. But nonetheless, the town has clearly enjoyed the spoils of lucrative mining, and the wealth is quite evident, from the beautiful well-kept streets and homes to the quality architecture and pride in buildings they so clearly have. Well, you guys, another great adventure you've taken us on. Thank you very much. It was amazing. Every day I woke up thinking, oh man, what could possibly be next? And this day didn't disappoint. In fact, I'll tell you how much I knew at this point. Something with boats. Imagining a boat ride of some sort, I guess. As it was being explained to us by our super friendly tour guide here, this area is the remnant of an ancient lake, one of the original of this whole central Mexican region, and one of the main water sources for the very first inhabitants of this area. An area that would grow and eventually end up being the second largest city in the world, Mexico City. This old lake dates back to the pre-colonial era and is part of a vast canal system developed originally by the Aztecs. Actually, as explained to us, it didn't start as a canal system at all. Rather, it was originally started by small areas of this large shallow lake being filled in to create false or new islands for additional farming and agricultural areas. Over time, it was mostly filled in, leaving a large system of canals and islands rather than one big lake.
I can't believe we're in Mexico City, and this used to be a lake that they've infilled and used for farming and living while trying to maintain the health of the land in the lake. Now it's more like a whole bunch of interconnected irrigation canals, yeah, essentially, and mostly still in good health and definitely great for the wildlife and the birds. I mean, they're everywhere.
Yeah. Well, their idea here is to maintain the old traditions and history of cultivation and farming and keeping those practices alive. And that's really hard to do in a city that's the second largest city in the world, you know?
We're right in the city, which is wild. Like
they're still trying to maintain that. What are we having, honey?
I have no idea.
We're going to have lunch.
We're having lunch here. Like, I keep thinking we're just going home, and we end up, you know, taking a left and ending up somewhere that they always just keep working these surprises on us.
So we've taken a little canal river tour, and now we've ended up here in this little farm to table.
Like,
basically.
This is the truest farm to table place you could encounter. This is the farm, and there's our table.
Well, I mean, we're in a chinampa, and you can see we are here at the crops and everything. Sure. But you see some other areas.
Locally, they would consider this a neighborhood, and this working class neighborhood is located right on the outskirts of the second largest city on Earth. And the present day role here is threefold. First, it is home to many, many families, eking out a simple living with their bare hands using many of the same tried and tested methods used for generations here in this region. Second, several of these plots have been purchased to commercially run eco-farms that either sell to local suppliers or restaurants looking for high-quality, eco-consciously raised products, or eco-farms that look to host guests of their own for authentic farm-to-table dining experiences right on site. Or farms that do both, like the one we are at, where everything grown or raised will be either used for their guests or sold to local grocery stores and restaurants. And you could taste it, one of the freshest meals we have ever enjoyed, and in such a fantastic setting.
Good morning.
It's cold and it's
early.
And you're probably wondering, what are we doing up this early?
This is so exciting.
So we are actually taking a hot air balloon ride over the pyramids of Teotihuacan.
Yep, it's closed. It's closed right now because of COVID.
Yes.
The only way you can see it is by the air.
It's by the air.
Yeah.
But that's not ours. Ours is bigger.
It's bigger. Let's go flying.
Bueno, ¿listo, chicos?
Listo.
This was our last full day here, and the whole trip seemed to culminate right here, high above the ruins of Teotihuacan, with absolutely wonderful people all around, and in a country that allowed me to fly my drone no less. It was an unforgettable experience, one that we are eternally grateful for. A real cherry on top type experience.
And actually, this was a very cosmopolitan, but one of them was Alejandria, and then you have three. They had even cities out of here. They had one, it's called Caminal Cuyu, that it was in Guatemala, and they had rulers. And would this area be huge city? Huge.
Everywhere
It was. Imagine it was the biggest city in all Mexico.
Wow.
You know, they built. It has been built by the gods. So.
Adelante, tripulación. ¿El segundo sí?
We did it!
Está bien.
Get ready. Brace for impact, everyone. Oh my goodness.
That's a good idea.
Bravo, boys. Come on, you got it.
All the boys.
Come on. Just before we get to the tree.
Okay, not bad at all.
10 legs.
Oh, that was amazing. We got a tree and a cactus, right?
It's moving to the cactus.
That's amazing. Incredible. So amazing.
I'm sure there must have been a time.
Yay!
We were all on cloud 9, not just because of the balloon ride, but everything, and especially all the laughter from new friendships being made.
And it was a 70
What did you think of that? worth getting up at 4:30 this morning?
It was all right.
Come on, that was incredible.
That was just crazy.
Yeah.
I can't believe the things we've gotten to do over the last
Seriously.
week. Just what? And today is our last day, so what a way to wrap it up. And we're still going to Mexico City.
I know.
We're going to downtown.
This entire week has been magical. It has been something that we couldn't have done on our own.
No.
And without this kind, loving family,
Yes.
they have shown us what Mexico is really about. But that was amazing.
Great time.
If you come to Teotihuacan, do the hot air balloon ride.
Yes.
No doubt.
No trip to Mexico City would be complete without seeing Mexico City. And even though our Mexican friends have been here their whole life, they showed us around with patience like they were seeing it all for the first time as well.
Hi, darling.
This place is amazing. It is so amazing. The
Yeah.
architecture and the history and the size.
The size.
Yeah.
The city was enormous, and the camera, unfortunately, just does not do it justice. And I don't know what we were expecting exactly, but the city felt, well, young and inviting, alive and comfortable, magical in a way. And there was never any question of safety. Personally, I have felt far less comfortable in more than a few US cities, that's for sure.
I'll tell you one thing that's really interesting. I love these buildings. I love this architecture. It's just incredible and so beautiful. But man, they're so far from level and straight, and I really have an eye for that. So it really stands out to me when a building isn't level or straight. And I'm not knocking them. I know it's centuries old, I know this, but it's just kind of funny. I think it adds to it actually, in a way. Beautiful though. Hola. Solo fotografía.
Again, we don't usually seek out churches to visit, but the churches, at least in most countries I've ever visited, seem to hold the lion's share of wealth and are usually the centerpieces of most major towns and cities throughout the world. And this one was one of the grandest that we have ever come across. It was pretty spectacular to see all the intricate and labor-intensive details that went into this massive structure. And to think that it was all done prior to electricity and excavators, before CAD programs and concrete plants. It was simply amazing.
Outside, I mentioned that I thought these buildings were tilted a little bit. Yup, that's what they use to measure how much and how quickly it's tilting and moving.
So you went to an extreme here, so the angle you get is less.
It was a simple but effective device. A basic weighted pendulum hung from a fixed spot on the ceiling, and a measuring plaque mounted on the floor. So over time, they could verify how much the roof shifted in relation to the floor, as the building sank more on one side than on others. There are grand churches like this all over the planet, and they always stir up the same question for me. Now, this is obviously not aimed at Mexico whatsoever, nor do I wish to start an argument or create any misunderstandings about how we feel about religions in general. I simply just wonder how the churches seem to have so much pride and wealth dumped into their shell, often while the surrounding people are in a deficit of such comfort, such abundance. It's just what I wonder about when seeing such extravagant buildings. It just seems like some of that energy and love and money could have been better appropriated by redirecting it outward rather than inward. Anyways, the city was pure energy and exciting to be in, full and happy everywhere we saw, and our tour wrapped up at what could be called the very center, very heart of the city, at least historically speaking. This spot, where Mexico City now stands tall all around, is all that is left of where an ancient Aztec city once stood. It is called Tenochtitlan, and it was the largest and most powerful city of its time. Inevitably, it was conquered by the Spanish, and specifically Hernan Cortez, in the early 16th century. Many of those early conquistadors, including many of Cortez's own men, were so taken by the beauty of this original Aztec city that they reported wondering if they were dreaming when they first saw it. Unfortunately, despite all the admiration from these men, the Spaniards systematically started destruction of the city, rebuilding their new city structures right on top of the ruins of this once great empire. Very sad to think of all that's been lost over the years, and in the name of progress, no less. Well, that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode and got a little taste of Mexico in the process. It's been amazing to us for sure. Cheers!